Now, it was a historic inauguration with the usual pomp and ceremony, but without the usual crowds, of course, and the outgoing President Trump. But yesterday on Capitol Hill, Joe Biden was sworn in as the 46th US president, ending one of the most dramatic political transitions in American history.
And now it is my honor to introduce the President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden, Jr.
Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. We've learned again that democracy is precious, democracy is fragile, and at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed.
Well, what about foreign affairs and specifically President Biden's relationship with Scotland? Scottish exports to the US are worth an estimated £5.5 billion a year, eye-watering, and a post-Brexit trade deal would be watched with a lot of interest. Let's cross to Washington now and speak to Ian Houston, who serves as a consultant and ambassador for the Scottish Business Network. Hi, Ian.
Hello.
First of all, you're in Washington. You've worked there a long time. Sum up how you're feeling today.
Well, I think thank you, Fiona, for what you do and for BBC Radio Scotland at large. You just provide so many important services during these challenging times. But to your question, this provides for me an opening for Scotland. The world needs to really understand more deeply what Scotland brings. It's vitally important for the outside world, international actors, and in this case, the United States, to see that Scotland is a modern, entrepreneurial, innovative, groundbreaking nation within the UK, with some of the finest research institutions in the world. Now, some will see that Scotland is a nice, cute wee box wrapped in a tartan bow, and that's fine, I suppose, and this sort of ancient sword-wielding clans that are around, but and that's fine if that brings people to the table, but it's so much more, as you know, and your listeners know, than that. Last year, Scotland, the United States, needs to understand that Scotland was named as the UK's top destination outside of London for foreign direct investment. And of course, readers and others will know that so many leaders will be coming to Glasgow in November of this year for COP26, for the UN Global Conference. And Scotland is international. And of course, there are opportunities in England and Wales and Northern Ireland, no question about it. But Scotland is unique, and it has sectors and opportunities across Scotland that are unique to Scotland, Glasgow and Edinburgh and Aberdeen and Inverness and Dundee, even all the way up in the Shetland Islands. So yes, these are tough times, but we all need to keep telling the story as the Biden administration comes in of what Scotland offers: the space sector, green technology, net zero plans, wind technology, agricultural research, and so many things. And I think, Fiona, one sector that really needs attention right now, in particular, that we tell this story, is the charitable sector within Scotland. It's a model for the world. If I look at the Homeless World Cup, Social Bite, Mary's Meals, the Scottish Refugee Council, so many organizations and businesses in the third sector are doing such important work and a real model for the world. So we just need to keep investing in that story. And Scotland is now a fantastic campaign. People can go to scotland.org, and let's just keep telling the story of what Scotland has to offer.
And how significant or high up is Scotland going to be on President Biden's agenda, do you think, Ian? And what will that relationship be like?
Well, we have always, as you know, the relationship between the UK and the US has been characterized as special. Churchill himself was the one who coined that notion. But let's narrow that focus. In your introduction, we talked about the trading relationship between the United States and Scotland, £5.5 billion. The US is Scotland's largest international market. do U.S. policy leaders know that? I don't think they know it to the extent we need them to know it. And so with COP26 coming up, with all the things that the Scottish government, Scottish leaders across parties have identified as priorities, such as climate change being primary, that's a real example for the world, and the United States can learn from Scotland and engage with Scotland while respecting the relationship, of course, with the UK, but really look at Scotland through a unique lens of learning and engaging with these entrepreneurial sectors. I think what I feel it needs to happen is the United States really needs to have more people on the ground in Scotland. U.S. Embassy in London is fantastic. I have friends and colleagues that work in the embassy, but we only have one person in Edinburgh. That's not enough. In order to understand Scotland, we need more people on the ground. So a new ambassador to the UK needs to potentially transfer some positions up there. And then conversely, Scotland should have more people in the United States. As great as the staff are here in the U.S., Scotland just simply needs more of a presence here in the United States.
Ian, thank you so much. Before you go, we've had an unusual text in from a listener who's saying, your voice is so smooth, she's hooked, and given my number, which I think may cross editorial guidelines, so I won't do that. But thanks so much for joining us. Much appreciated.